Welcome to NHPCO's We Honor Veterans Partner Networking Call. During the presentation, all participants will be in a listen-only mode. Afterwards, we will conduct a question and answer session, and you will have the opportunity to share your stories. At that time, if you have a question or comment, please press star 1 on your telephone to enter the phone queue. As a reminder, this conference is being recorded. I would now like to turn the conference over to Catherine Kemp. Please go ahead.
Hi, Will. Thank you for that, and thank you all for joining us for our September We Honor Veterans Quarterly Partner Networking Call. We're so glad you can be here. Right off the bat, just want to give a few updates as well as welcome our speakers. So joining us today, we have Carrie Rogers with the PsychArmor Institute. So she'll be giving us an overview of the different resources they have that I'm sure will be loving to use. We also have Anne Rabine from the Quilts of Valor Foundation. So she'll be speaking to you from the national office on how you can get connected with your regional hubs. We also have Dr. Scott Shreve from the Department of Veterans Affairs for some updates and, of course, as always, to answer any questions that you have. We also, here from NHPCO, have Lauren Drew, Advocacy Manager with the Hospice Action Network, with some updates and tips for you to do some outreach. All right, so first off the bat, just want to give everyone a friendly reminder. Next week is NHPCO's Interdisciplinary Conference in San Diego. For any of you that are in the area or will be joining us at the conference, there will be a We Honor Veterans Appreciation event. It'll be on Tuesday evening between 5 and 7 on site there at the Marriott. So this is going to be just a really great opportunity to meet and greet with your other partners. We didn't want to have a super long program or anything, but we will be having a short panel discussion. It's in collaboration with the Elizabeth Hospice as well as the San Diego Hospice Veteran Partnership. So they'll be giving us some tips and an overview on their partnership and coalition in the area. And we will also have exhibitors from local veteran-centric organizations such as PsychArmor, who's joining us on the call today, Quilts of Valor, Spirit of 45, and Honor Flight. So they'll be there exhibiting and there to just meet and greet with everyone to give you some best practices for reaching out and strengthening your partnerships in your own communities. So it's free and open to everyone to attend. There'll be food and drinks, and we hope that you all can make it. So a couple of other quick updates, a couple of updated resources and new things available. So many of you are familiar with Hospice Foundation of America's Improving Care for Veterans Facing Illness and Death. Typically, we've given our partners a special discount code. Well, I'm happy to announce that this year we will actually be able to offer the course free of charge. So we will be sending out an announcement to our partners with a specific link where you can access the course. Also, we have a few new resource videos that are up on our website. They're underneath the educational resources. So we have 2 short videos. One is on memorials and salutes for vets and caregivers, and the other one is an overview on veterans benefits. So these are short videos, they're less than 6 or 7 minutes each, and they just give you a quick overview and walk you through some of the highlights of those PowerPoints as well as giving you some important information. So for instance, on the veterans benefits, we give an overview of what Moira and Scott went over on our last quarterly networking call and some important numbers and information for you to have. All right, so without further ado, I want to turn it over to Lauren Drew for some updates.
Hi, thank you, Catherine. Thank you, everybody out there. I know we have a full schedule today, so I'll be brief. Coming up, obviously, this fall is Veterans Day in November. And I know I come to you almost every year talking about how it is important to make sure that when you are arranging your Veterans Day events or any events throughout the year, really, you're remembering to invite your members of Congress as well as your state and local legislators. Now, I have had some people ask me, like, why? I'm just adding another level of work to the amount of work you already have to put in to do your events. And I understand a lot of you guys are one-person shops. You also have multiple other jobs as well as coordinating We Honor Veterans. So I just wanted to explain briefly how important it is for members of Congress not only to appreciate the resources you provide to their community, but also to fully understand what a veteran is facing at the end of life. Veterans obviously hold a very important place in our nation, and sometimes they're only thought of in the present tense. But we have veterans who have been veterans for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and they shouldn't be forgotten, as you all know, as they're facing their twilight days and years. So while, sometimes members of Congress are very active and they go to the military bases and they see the younger veterans or the more recent veterans, you guys serve a very important purpose of reminding them that there are veterans facing serious illness and the end of life who also need their attention. So it's a great experience, obviously, for your programs and your veterans to have a member of Congress or their staff attend the event. I know many programs will have a member of Congress maybe say a few words. Maybe they will present a flag that was flown over the Capitol in honor of the veteran you're honoring. Maybe they're going to do the pinning themselves. Maybe they're just there. You can tailor an event with a member of Congress to suit your patient, your facility, and the time that the member of Congress has to spend with you. So I'll keep it brief, but we are going to be emailing many of you, asking you to let us know if you have any events coming up this fall. I'm happy to help make the invitations for you, walk you through, what it takes to have a member of Congress or their staff attend your event. Please, please, please reach out to us and let us know if you're doing any events. We do have 2 major pieces of legislation that we would like Congress to think about this year. So if we can get them out to your programs, remind them the important work that you do and the services you provide, not only the veterans community, but the wider community in general, we're hoping that will make them receptive to the legislative questions we have. To briefly go over that, we do have the Rural Access to Hospice Act. We're really working on getting that hopefully wrapped into the Medicare Extenders bill this fall, and that would help fix a quirk whereby currently physicians at federally qualified health centers and rural health centers are unable to receive payment for acting as the hospice attending physician. This is obviously a barrier to care in rural areas where there may only be a rural health clinic physician available. So that's one bill, especially important for those of you who live in areas with rural health clinics. And of course also the Patient Choice and Quality Care Act. Again, improving access to advanced care planning, moving access to care upstream, improving educational opportunities not only for patients and families but also for physicians. So 2 really important bills that we have going on the Hill right now. If you want more details about those, they're on our website, hospiceactionnetwork.org. But the main point that I would like you guys to remember is just please remember to include your members of Congress in any We Honor Veterans events that you have going on. It's really important for them to see on the ground the kind of work you do and the kind of needs our veterans have facing serious illness and the end of life. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Catherine. Please email me, ldrew@nhpco.org, with any questions. Thanks a lot.
All right, thanks, Lauren. And again, if you have any questions for her or just, want some more general information about how to get more involved, feel free to email her or send an email to the Veterans Inbox, and we'll be happy to pass that along as well. Okay, well, we'd like to go ahead and get started with our speakers. Again, joining us first will be Carrie Rogers with the PsychArmor Institute to give us an overview on some of the resources.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for inviting me, Catherine and Scott, to be on this call. I'm always excited to talk a little bit about what PsychArmor does and help people get access to some of the educational tools that we have available. So my name is Carrie Rogers. As I said, I'm the Education Director at the PsychArmor Institute. PsychArmor is a national not-for-profit, and we actually, our mission is to help people in the community work with veterans, military members, and their families more effectively. So as you all may know, there are about 40,000 nonprofits in the United States that are focused on assisting veterans. But there are very few organizations that are focused on helping people who want to help veterans. So we were founded about 2.5 years ago by Marjorie Morrison, who is our founder and CEO, to help educate the public about issues that are unique to military veterans, military members, and their families. So what we are is an online library. We have over 130 online courses. Most of them are brief micro-learning courses, and they are all geared toward helping members of the community understand the military population a little bit better, so that they can more effectively engage with the military and veteran community. We have a number of different schools on our website, which is at psycharmor.org. All of our courses are kind of organized into schools. We have a school on basic military culture. We have a school that's aimed at educating healthcare providers, a school that's aimed at educating employers. We have one for caregivers and families. We have one for volunteers. And we have a couple of schools that are focused on helping educators understand military families and military veterans better. So all of our courses are free. They are accessible 24/7. And we also have a free support line for our learners. So if you were to take one of our courses, say we have a course called 15 Things Veterans Want You to Know. It's 15 things veterans want you to know. It's about 15 minutes long. If you took that course and then you had some follow-up questions, or you wanted to get some coaching on working with military members, their families, or veterans, we have a free toll-free number that you can call, or we have an email and a chat line that you can call or connect with us on. And we have 3 or 4, I think, on staff currently, master's level mental health providers and a couple of clinical psychologists who can coach you through some of the questions that you have. We have courses on VA benefits. We have courses on taking care of yourself as a volunteer. We have courses on communication skills for people working with veterans. We have courses on supporting a surviving loved one, how to talk to somebody with a disability, setting boundaries, preventing burnout, and working in direct connection with veterans and their families. We have courses on just kind of Department of Defense overview and invisible wounds of war. We have courses on general things about military families that it's very helpful for people to know about. Our belief is that the more you know about the community that you're working with, the better you are able to communicate with that community. So as I said, all of our courses are free. We don't charge our learner at all for any of the services that we provide. And we have worked with We Honor Veterans to set up actually a landing page for all of the partners so that you can go and take our courses through a link that We Honor Veterans is going to send out to everybody on the call. So you can log in, and we have 3 courses already available for you to look at. It's, again, as I said, free. They're animated. They're really engaging courses. They are all vetted. All the content is vetted through VA and the Department of Defense and many of our partners, so that we know that all of the information in those courses is very high quality. And again, we're available to anybody who takes a course to coach and to talk to folks about following up on the information that they get from our courses. So I know Catherine is going to send out a link to that to all of you, to all of the We Honor Veterans partners, and it's going to become part of what you all can do as We Honor Veterans organizations, is to take some of these courses and get educated. We're also available to chat with any organization about courses that you think might be good for your employees or your volunteers or your other partners. We can set up landing pages for any organization, and that's free of charge, to help disseminate some of our courses. So that's who we are in a nutshell. We're an online library, and we're all about educating the non-military members in America about those who have served us so well, so that we can facilitate more effective engagement and bridge the gap between the civilian community and the military community. So I'm happy to, I don't know if we want to do questions now or if those need to wait. I'm not going to be on the call for the whole call. Do we have the ability to take questions now, or did you want to wait, Catherine, and maybe send me those questions or answer them yourself?
Hi, Carrie. No, if it's okay, yeah, let's take a couple of minutes and answer any questions that folks have. I just wanted to quickly add that I just want to echo what Carrie said, and that these courses really are amazing, and that they're concise and they're, targeted towards you visual learners that may have, issues reading through some of the other resources that are out there, but they're really clear. They're to the point. They're easy to access anytime that you want to. And another thing I just wanted to add is that we will have a landing page on the We Honor Veterans website with a link to PsychArmor. So it will link directly to these courses that are targeted towards our partners. So I really want to encourage you, if you have time, to check them out. As she said, the 15 Things Veterans Want You to Know is a really great place to start. There's other courses that will really, be of assistance to our partners. There's one on connecting with the VA. There's one focused on PTSD. So again, we really hope that you all will use these tools and use these resources. And I also want to add that they will count towards your educational requirements for moving up your partner levels. We know that staff in services as well as community in services are requirements, so these will count towards those. And again, I'll be sending out a link in the post-call notes, and then we will also send out an announcement with all of our updated resources to all partners, just to make sure that no one's missing anything. So with that, let's go ahead and open up the line for any questions for PsychArmor.
And at this time, I would like to remind everyone, in order to ask a question, press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. We'll pause for just a moment to compile the Q&A roster. And your first question comes from Beth Brown of Hope West.
Hi, Carrie. I was wondering, how long are the courses? Are they like 30 minutes, an hour? Do you have an idea of what each course, are they all different, or?
Well, they are all different. If you go to you can go to the website that we've set up for We Honor Veterans. You can also go to our website, which gives you access to the full library at psycharmor.org. Within the healthcare provider school, most of the courses are half an hour to an hour. That's because we offer CEUs for medical providers. But within, say, the military culture school or the volunteer school, where I think you would also find some really useful tools, we try to keep our courses down to 10 minutes. So they're really short and concise courses.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Once again, that's star 1 in order to ask a question. And there are no further questions at this time.
All right. Well, thank you all very much. I encourage you to take a look at the website, and please feel free to let us know if you have any questions or comments about our products, or if you can think of a course that you think would be really useful, we're always open to that kind of feedback.
Excuse me.
Yes.
We actually have received a question from John Smith of White Hospice.
Great.
It's actually with Hospice of Southwest Virginia. That's a little strange to say. I had a question. I've been navigating the site here while you've been talking and was looking under the School for Military Veteran Caregivers and Families. I saw the one here for the 15 things veterans want you to know. And I noticed in the upper left-hand corner, some of them have little heart symbols. And then on this one, it has what looks like a stack of books or something. What's going on with the symbols there?
The symbols are basically a way to categorize what school we have labeled the course. So 15 Things Veterans Want You to Know is a course in our military culture school, but you can access any course you want to. All 130 or so courses are available to anybody. You can watch whatever you want. It's just a way that we like to categorize things. So our caregiver school has hearts. Our healthcare provider school has another symbol.
So that's actually the same course is listed under a different heading then. I got
That's correct. Yep, that's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
And our next question comes from the line of Presley Sherrill of the Hospice of Lubbock.
Yes, my question was if are these courses, and I've not looked at the website yet, so I apologize, but is it something that we could become familiar with and then teach in a classroom setting, say to volunteers, or is it strictly set up to be a one-on-one learning experience?
You are welcome to take the course and use the content that you learn in any way you like. We have actually worked with organizations and would be happy to work with yours to help you incorporate the online learning into a live course.
Okay, great.
If you were doing a training and you wanted to include the 10-minute course on preventing volunteer burnout, we would be happy to help you do that.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Yep.
And your next question comes from the line of Sonia Parks of Minnesota Hospice.
Hi. My question is, and this might have been mentioned previously, the courses on psycharmor.org, are those resources we can use towards earning our stars for leveling up as a We Honor Veteran partner?
Hey, it's Catherine here. And yes, the courses will count. As Carrie mentioned, there are different schools, and there is a school targeted to healthcare providers. There are plenty of courses in there, as well as in the other schools that are targeted towards the work that you were doing, and those will count towards your staff or community and services.
Okay, do you know if they have to meet a certain time requirement, be a particular amount of length, or are we free to choose?
You're free to choose. Again, we're more primarily focused on keeping them veteran-centric.
Okay, great, thank you.
Sure.
And your next question comes to the line of Daniel Vanek of St. Tammany, Paris.
Yes. Is there some sort of documentation that prints out when someone does this, or a way of keeping a record if they complete a course?
So that's a really good question. Currently, we don't have any documentation. We do have a badging level, or a badge that people can earn. But what you can do is, if you go in, you'll register in the learning management system, and I think you can print out the screen with the course completion on it. You're also always welcome to send an email or chat with our education resource counselors, and they would be available to provide you with something. We're happy to do that.
Thank you.
If you get CEUs, you will get a continuing education certificate.
And there are no further questions at this time.
All right, again, well, thank you so much, Carrie, for joining us today and sharing that information. And again, we'll be reaching out with not only, links to the website, but again, the link to the We Honor Veterans landing page. So that'll make it easier for our partners to go in and navigate which courses, might be good for your staff and community and services as well. So thank you again, Carrie. And again, if anyone thinks of any questions or ideas later, feel free to email us at the Veterans Inbox, and we'll be happy to pass those along.
Thank you so much, everybody. It was a pleasure.
All right, so next we're going to be hearing from Anne Rabine with the Quilts of Valor Foundation.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm so happy to be able to tell you a little bit about Quilts of Valor today. We originated in 2003 with a Blue Star mom whose son was serving in Iraq, and she saw him in a dream, and as they say, he was wrapped in despair, and in her next scene she saw him wrapped in a quilt, and to that it equaled Quilts Equal Healing, and that's how the Quilts of Valor Foundation came to be. We first distributed quilts at Walter Reed Hospital to the wounded, and it's evolved since then to include all veterans. And I think the total this morning was around 164,000 quilts that have been made and awarded to veterans since 2003. We're a nonprofit organization. Quilts are made entirely through donations from our volunteers who are all just that, a volunteer. We have no paid employees except for a part-time bookkeeper. And we have branches of Quilts of Valor in every state. They're governed by what we would call standards of excellence, so that every quilt that's made is made to a specific set of guidelines, because we feel nothing's too good for our veterans. So we have a state coordinator in every state, and we also have several area coordinators throughout the state. We have about 300 groups of Quilts of Valor, and we also have individual memberships. So we have a website. It's www.qovf, Quilts of Valor Foundation, www.qovf.org. And on the website is where you can request a Quilt of Valor for a veteran. And once it gets into our system, it's then assigned to a state coordinator, who then assigns it to a group leader, and it kind of trickles down like that. Typically, depending on your location, if you're in a very populous area, a Quilt of Valor can take 6 to 8 months to be awarded. If you're not in a very populated area, it might be much sooner. They also will move someone up the line if someone is gravely ill, if it's a World War II veteran, those sort of things. So that's it in a nutshell, very brief nutshell, but I would be more than happy to take questions.
So Anne, this is Catherine. I was wondering if you could maybe tell our partners a little bit about how they could connect with these community hubs, as, again, the partners will be working with veterans under hospice care. So what could they do?
Well, every group is connected on our website. So if you live in Omaha, Nebraska, you can look on our website under Who's in My Area, and click on that, and it will allow you to find the person that's in your area that you can connect with.
Great. Well, thanks for that. I know that a lot of our partners have teamed up with the Quilts of Valors in their own backyards, and they are part of their local hospice veteran partnership. So definitely looking forward to seeing more of you connect. So with that, does anyone have any questions for Ann?
And once again, if you would like to ask a question, press star 1 on your telephone keypad. Our first question comes from Cynthia Craddock of LHC Group.
Yes, could you please repeat that website again that we can have access to?
Sure. It's www.qovf.org. It's the initials of Quilts of Valor Foundation. QOVF.org.
And your next question comes from Vanessa Salinas of Providence Hospice.
Hi. I think I answered my question. I'm up here in Alaska, and I don't see. I do see your website, so thank you.
Sure. We have a very active group just outside of Anchorage up there, and a few that are inland also. So you should be able to get some help there.
Yeah, there are a couple who are actually in Anchorage, so that's really good to know. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And again, if you would like to ask a question, press star 1 on your telephone keypad. Your next question comes from the line of Samantha Zanis of Zanis Healthcare.
Hi there. I'm actually with CARES Healthcare, but we're located in South Carolina. And I was just wondering, whenever I do an initial visit with one of our patients, we bring them, usually we try to bring them blankets. And we did have one volunteer that was, that she was very active with making us blankets, but she is no longer with us. So I was just wondering, I knew that there was, that y'all did, I think the way that y'all have it set up is you kind of have to nominate someone to get one. Is that correct?
That's typically how it happens through our website. People are nominated, yes.
Okay.
If you know your local representative, you can talk to her or him and do it that way too. But it's really preferred that you go through the website so that we have a tracking mechanism, tracking mechanism, I mean.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And your next question comes from the line of Heidi Chickerill of Amadeus Hospice.
Hi, I was wondering, are we able to submit for the blankets for our hospice patients, or they have to get online and request that?
No, anyone can request for anyone.
And it goes to their home versus coming to the hospice care center, or how does that work?
Valor are awarded in a ceremony.
Okay.
So that's how that works. It can be in their home, absolutely, or if they're able to attend a ceremony where there might be others awarded, that works. But most definitely they can be awarded in a hospice setting, or in their home.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And your next question comes from the line of Karen Wallace of Heart and Home Hospice.
Hello. Thank you so much for your information. I'm finding it very useful. I don't make quilts myself, but I have several friends who do. I'm assuming, but don't want to assume, that going to the website would explain how they might be able to make and donate quilts to you. Is that correct?
Yes, there's a lot of useful information on the website, including the size requirements and, the preferred material, standards of excellence, that sort of thing. So they should be able to find whatever they need there.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
And your next question comes from the line of Melissa Gomez of Good Shepherd Hospice.
Yes, my question is, if the patient does pass before the ceremony is performed, are we able to just present the quilt to the family without having to do the ceremony?
We only present Quilts of Valor to living veterans. They will not be presented to
because you said it takes
family.
Because it takes 6 to 8 months, and if they pass during that time, it just goes to the next person or the quilt?
If the person is extremely ill, all haste will be made to provide a quilt if it's possible.
Okay.
But quilts are not presented to families; they're presented to veterans.
Okay, thank you.
And once again, if you would like to ask a question, press star 1 on your telephone keypad. And our next question comes from the line of Andrea Perkins of Embrace Hospice. Ms. Perkins, your line is open. Ms. Perkins, if you are on mute, please unmute your line.
I did not understand the answer to the last question. If a person dies before the quilt is presented, what happens to the quilt?
Quilts of Valor are only awarded to living veterans, so it would just go on to whoever else has been designated.
Okay, so it will not go to the family?
No, it will not.
Okay. If the patient has died, now who do we contact to let you know that the patient has died?
You will always have a tracking number.
Okay.
So you would just you could do it numerous ways. You'll have a contact person that you'll be working with, and that would be the best way is to contact that person that you're working with. But like I said, we
so it will be in
our utmost.
So it would be in the email?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And your next question comes from the line of Tina Lake of Harbor Hospice.
Yes, I'd looked on your site, and it's a wonderful site full of information. And I put in for our veterans to get a Quilt of Valor, and I think you have a wonderful organization. I wanted to congratulate you.
Oh, thank you very much. We appreciate that.
And there are no further questions at this time.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Anne, for giving that overview as well as answering all of those questions. Again, partners, if anything comes up later, if you think of anything, please feel free to send us an email at the Veterans Inbox, and we'll be happy to pass that along or help guide you to where your local Quilts of Valor is located.
Absolutely.
All right.
Okay, thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you. All right, so next up we have Scott Shreve with some updates and to answer any questions that you all have for him.
Thanks very much, Catherine. Delighted to be here. And just wanted to plant a seed. I'll make a few comments and then be sure to have time to try to answer any questions. And this is a topic that we've talked about before, but I just wanted to let people know that care of veterans from the Vietnam era is really a growing issue, not only from a demographic perspective, but from a knowledge and expertise perspective. And Catherine and I are brainstorming, and I suspect that there will be a upcoming webinar about Vietnam-era veterans. But I just also wanted to ask all of you that if you have resource materials that you believe are worthy to share with others related to the care of terminally ill Vietnam-era veterans, we would welcome it and very much want to pass that along to all of our partners. And I'm going to be accumulating resource materials from VA folks, and then we'll be posting that also on the We Honor Veterans website. So thank you all there, and for those of us that have been doing this for a number of years, we're all seeing more and more Vietnam-era veterans in our hospice care. All right, on to perhaps more mundane issues of the CHOICE Act, and I don't want to go into all of the details, but you may have heard a lot in the news about funding in August to expand VA care. Yes, that was passed, an additional $2.1 billion for the Department of Veterans Affairs. And the sad news is, unlike a council decision that we had about 8-9 months ago, we aren't permitted to use those funds to purchase hospice care. The way the CHOICE Act is written, it's for other care. And having said that, I just wanted you, I guess the best way I can describe it is VA may be one of those few agencies where money comes in different colors, and other VA funds are used to purchase hospice care for enrolled veterans when it is needed. And that still continues, that hospice must be offered to be purchased or provided for enrolled veterans that need this care as part of every enrolled veterans benefit package. So if there are any problems in getting veterans access to hospice care, boy, please let me know, let Catherine know. We will follow up. I assure you that there is a very strong commitment from the Department of Veterans Affairs to ensure that all enrolled veterans that are deemed appropriate have access to hospice care. And I think we may have mentioned it last quarter, but I can't resist putting a plug in again. Just a couple of months ago, there was an article published in Health Affairs by a researcher, Susan Miller, and you'll see that the use of hospice by enrolled veterans actually surpassed the private sector's use of hospice. And we're just delighted that veterans are getting access and choosing these services. So I just want to pause there, and I had kind of one more topic that I don't think we need really to talk about a lot, but I wanted to pause and just see if there are any questions or open up the phone lines to any questions. And while you're thinking about your questions, I'll just kind of whet your appetite on the last topic I wanted to share, and it's an ongoing issue of concurrent care. And this is the simultaneous provision of hospice care with active disease treatment. And the typical scenario that I'm hearing about is a veteran is receiving hospice in their home, most commonly under the Medicare hospice benefit, and it just so happens they are also receiving disease-directed care from their VA medical center, such as palliative radiation or maybe even one of the newer immunologics that you've heard about in TV commercials like Opdivo or Keytruda. And anyway, and there's been an uneasiness with this concurrent care, despite evidence that it's growing across our nation. And I believe there are many people working at solutions for this, but I wanted to let you know at times it may benefit to have VA pay for the hospice instead of Medicare if that allows that delivery of concurrent care in a fashion that's more suitable to you. So I've made my my commercial plugs for the Department of Veterans Affairs, and we want every veteran to have full access to their veteran benefits as long as it doesn't duplicate any services under the Medicare hospice benefit. So I really thank you all for what you do. Catherine and I are trying to finalize a contract to work together again for the next 3 years in the We Honor Veterans program. It's been a wonderful program, and I am so very thankful for all the care that you provide to veterans in the community. So I'm available and yours for the next, 15 minutes or so if you have any questions.
And at this time, if you would like to ask a question, press star 1 on your telephone keypad. Our first question comes from the line of Melissa Gomez of Good Shepherd Hospice.
Actually, it was with the Quilts of Valor question, if that's possible.
I won't know your answer, Melissa, but I bet if they're still on the line, I welcome you answering it.
That's okay. I can send an email and ask that question later.
Okay, Melissa.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
And your next question comes from the line of Karen Wallace of Heart and Home Hospice.
Hello. Thank you so much for your information. I just need some clarification to make sure that I heard you right. Would you repeat what you said about hospice services for veterans surpassing hospice services? Was that for the general public or?
Yes, this was an analysis done and published in Health Affairs. The principal investigator was Susan Miller, and what she found is that a trending over years that enrolled veterans actually enrolled in hospice, elected for hospice care at rates that were greater than non-veterans in the private sector. And this is, we believe, Susan and I have talked, and I actually published an editorial to her research, that we believe it's collaborations like the We Honor Veterans program, it's VA's ability to provide concurrent care, it was our significant funding from a comprehensive end-of-life care initiative that occurred over 4 years that really helped the VA not only catch up, if you will, to the private sector, but surpass the private sector in promoting and providing access to hospice services for enrolled veterans. So,
wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Thank you, Karen.
Mm-hmm.
And our next question comes from the line of Charlene Hope of Embrace Hospice.
Hi, thank you. I had tried to get in on the Quilts of Valor, but I just wanted to share something with everybody on the phone about the Quilts of Valor. We have partnered in the Myrtle Beach, South Carolina area with our local volunteer and Quilts of Valor person. They literally yesterday dropped everything and brought a quilt to a dying patient in our GIP unit. Family was there, Vietnam veteran, served 21 years, was never recognized, and it was just the most wonderful ceremony for the vet, but especially for the family. So if you partner with that local person, that is key, because you know some of our patients, we get them and they're gone in 2 or 3 days. So I just wanted to share that. We've just opened a brand new IPU unit yesterday, and we're looking forward to really partnering with the Quilts of Valor because they've been absolutely wonderful.
And our next question comes from the line of Stephanie Puffer of Bristol Hospice.
Hi, you mentioned a minute ago that there is sometimes a benefit to having the VA pay for hospice instead of Medicare. Can you tell me exactly what you were referring to in that?
Sure, Stephanie. And I welcome others on this call chiming in on this topic, but I have heard concerns that I guess the phrase would be called double dipping, that when a community hospice program was providing care under the Medicare hospice benefit, and then the veteran, let's say, also went to the VA and received some care related to the terminal illness, that I've heard some anxiety from community hospices at times that hold it. We are supposed to own, the entire care plan related to the terminal illness. And I've even heard isolated reports of where the community hospice will inform the veteran, we can't provide hospice care to you if the VA is going to do any treatment related to the terminal disease. And what a number of facilities and community hospice programs have worked out is if the VA pays for the hospice care, not under the Medicare hospice benefit, that had reduced some of the level of anxiety related to that so-called double dipping, that the VA was providing all the care, and VAs nationwide routinely pay for hospice care in the home as well as provide treatments directed at the disease, as we talked about palliative radiation and other things that may not be typically available from a community hospice. So that's a piece of that picture, if you will, of when VA pays for hospice care. I don't want to make it sound like when VA pays for it, it's a panacea or a solution to everything. There are pluses and minuses as to whether a veteran elects under the Medicare hospice benefit and under having VA pay the bill, and it's the veteran's choice as to who is the payer. I don't know how far to go, but just to let you know, the VA is not identical to Medicare or insurance companies in how we work. And the VA, when VA is paying the bill, they tend to be more involved, especially with changes in the level of care. And VAs really want to be involved and have some proactive input for those changes in level of care, which can be challenging, I suspect, for community hospices at times. But Stephanie, did I cover what you were looking for?
You did. I'm familiar with working with VA contracted facilities, and so having the community liaison involved, that does clear things up a little bit more. So that's very informative. Thank you.
Oh, sure. My goal, Stephanie, just to step back, I've gotten support from the Undersecretary of the Department of Veterans Affairs and virtually all of the legal counsel. It is all of the legal counsel in the Department of Veterans Affairs has signed off that the Department of Veterans Affairs firmly believes that veterans should have full access to their VA benefits, period. If they happen to also have Medicare and elect the Medicare hospice benefit, that as long as there's no duplication of services, they are perfectly reasonable for the veteran to access their VA benefits in addition to the Medicare hospice benefit. The challenge has been on the regulation side, on Medicare's regulation side. There's no problems from the VA side. It's a Medicare regulation issue that we're running into, and we are working on that on a regular basis with the Medicare folks to try to figure out a way to solve this and then get it all out to you so that veterans can get truly all of the care that they're entitled to.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
And your next question comes from the line of Elizabeth Lee of Oxford Hospice.
Thank you. Scott, how do you spell your last name and how do we reach you?
I think the best way that Catherine and I have kind of worked out is to go through the We Honor Veterans website, and there's a way to email Catherine and their group, and I think, Catherine, I don't want to speak for you, but I think we get back pretty quickly with most of the questions there. And the only caveat I'll put to this, just to let you know, is we have some regional leaders. If say 50 questions came in tomorrow, I would try to delegate out to some of our regional leaders, or if you know the palliative care person at your local VA facility, they may be able to answer simple questions. But I welcome you sending in emails via the We Honor Veterans website. Catherine will get them to me, and we'll do our best to get back to you.
Thank you, sir.
Sure. And Catherine, if you have a different approach, let me know.
No, absolutely. Just want to echo that. If anyone has any questions about anything for Scott, even if it is just, maybe finding the correct contact at your local facility, please feel free to reach out to us here at We Honor Veterans. So it's veterans with an S at nhpco.org. And yeah, like Scott said, the turnaround time on that is usually really quick. So feel free to reach out to us.
And your next question comes from the line of Bruce Norman of Kindred Hospice.
Hi, Scott. I'm a Vietnam veteran myself, and I'm in charge of the We Honor Vets for our hospice. And I noticed you mentioned that there were expanding issues for Vietnam veterans and maybe not enough resources. What kind of resources, or could you expand on what you were saying there for me?
Oh, I'd be happy to. You are probably one of those resources that I'm looking for. But what I really meant, and maybe I apologize if I wasn't clear on that, this is really educating all of us about how to care for terminally ill Vietnam-era veterans. And this is an area that I believe all of us will need to grow in over the ensuing years. I'm sorry, I wasn't asking for money as much as asking for training programs, links online. PsychArmor, I have not gone through all of their training ones, but anything that we can do to bring together, I'll call it a compendium of valuable resources and links for people to get to on the We Honor Veterans website with one click. That's the type of kind of resource I think we all need to set up. And Bruce, I'll just add to this that, to let you know as a Vietnam-era veteran that one of the more recent Senate bills that was moving forward to include care of veterans it has included in it our office, the Department of Veterans Affairs Hospice and Palliative Care Program, will have to provide a report to Congress about what are we doing to ensure that care of Vietnam-era veterans at end of life is being addressed appropriately. And so I'm thrilled that they're asking, and now we need to bring together as much of these resources and share the expertise as widely as we can.
Okay, I appreciate that. Yeah, I was just wondering what the need was. I'm starting to deal with a lot more Vietnam vets. Our World War II veterans and Korean veterans are quietly passing from the scene. And there are some unique issues with us that were Vietnam veterans, from public approval, disapproval, to all kinds of interesting medical needs and things like that. So I appreciate your answer, and I'll be in contact with you about that issue. Thank you.
Bruce, that would be great. And I'll just put out one item. I was having coffee with some doctors that I work with today, and we were talking about number of days in direct combat. And I don't have the figures exact in my mind, but in World War II, I think on average, out of a 1 year of military service, let's say, there was an average of about 40 days in direct active combat. For the Vietnam-era veteran, that direct active combat in 1 year of service was over something like 200 days. And it just, oh boy, it was a very different war and very different experience, not only there, but also in coming home. So Bruce, I think you are exactly the type of expert and background that we need to engage to help spread the word.
Okay, thank you very much for that last comment, because that was something that I suspected but I didn't know, and you've given me confirmation for that. So thank you very much for your input.
Sure, Bruce.
And your next question comes from the line of Cinda Saunders from Hauser Hospice.
Are you there, Cinda?
Okay.
Yes, we're here.
Okay, I'm actually Ron Jeffrey. I'm the Vietnam vet, retired Air Force. Couple quick questions. With the VA, as I understand it, there's a marked distinction between combat veterans versus era veterans, and their benefits, death, burial, and all that kind of stuff. And so sometimes it's difficult for us to say, yeah, you're in there during that time, but you did not serve actually in country, so therefore your benefits are different. And I find that to be a little bit hard to explain to them from time to time. And then the other thing that my real question started out to be, those of us that are retired military, we started out with TRICARE, then we moved to TRICARE Prime, then we moved to TRICARE for Life. Now, does TRICARE for Life, does that hinder anything about doing the Medicare or the VA stuff if they determine that's your main insurance?
Wow. I'm going to step back, Ron, and answer what I think was your first question. I want to be clear. All enrolled veterans have hospice as part of their benefit package. There is no need for service-connected injury, combat era, war era. If you were an honorably discharged veteran and can get enrolled, you have hospice care as part of your VA benefit. I'll add to that there are what we refer to as high-income, non-service-connected veterans that, under current law, cannot get enrolled in the VA system. Well, I think you all should know, and we've shared this information with Catherine and can happily do it again, but if a veteran starts to decline, let's say from a terminal illness, and that would be the loss of 2 or more activities of daily living, they could then be enrolled, even if they are high income, under a clause known as catastrophically disabled. So they would be enrolled in the VA and then also have hospice as one of their VA benefits. The issue of burial is more complex, and I'm going to let you know that all veterans that die in VA facilities have a burial benefit. But I think, Ron, you're correct that depending on your service-connected status and whether you died from a service-connected illness or not, there are varying degrees of support from the Department of Veterans Affairs for the burial. I don't know those nuances, but we can certainly get you in touch with someone who does and kind of give you the cheat sheet on that one. The last one.
I got that information from my local VA people down here.
Good.
They know me well. But my main question was with TRICARE for Life versus Medicare. Does that how does that insurance work?
Yeah, I hope it's okay that you're talking to a VA doctor, and the Department of Veterans Affairs has VA benefits. And my understanding is, active military or retired military many of them have TRICARE benefits. I do not know how the TRICARE system works. There are times that VA and TRICARE overlap and work together, and then there's other times where VA and TRICARE may not work so well together. So, Ron, I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to TRICARE. I would recommend contacting DOD, Department of Defense, who I believe oversaw TRICARE.
Okay, I personally have the Southeast area telephone number that I work with anyway that governs that particular insurance, and I'll call them and see what I can find out.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Sure.
And your next question comes from the line of Philip Mack of Mountain Valley Hospice.
Hi, Philip.
Scott, good afternoon. Scott, when you referred to the finding that Susan Miller had done,
yes,
to the trend there, is that information accessible to us somewhere?
Oh, it was published in a peer-reviewed journal called Health Affairs. If you just Google Health Affairs, Susan Miller Hospice, or put in any of the other buzzwords, veterans and hospice, it'll come right up. It's in the public domain. Get it at your local library or whoever has access to Health Affairs. And it actually, a couple of news agencies picked it up and shared it as well.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I don't know. It got me thinking there, Philip. Catherine, maybe we should put a link somewhere.
Yeah, it was actually in the latest edition of our We Honor Veterans newsletter. It was included in that as well. So we should definitely put a link on our homepage also.
And your next question comes from the line of Susan Sasser of Embrace Hospice.
And Susan, welcome. I don't want to go over my time. And Catherine, I know you have a packed agenda. Should I make this our last question?
Oh no, that's okay. If you're okay, if you still have time, Scott, that works. That we'll keep going.
I'm okay. All right. Thank you. Hi, Susan.
Hi, I'm Suzanne Sasser with Embrace Hospice. Actually, I'm going to tag on real fast to Charlene Hope's call in about the Vietnam veteran that we presented a Quilt of Valor for yesterday. He actually passed away today, and that was the first time he really got acknowledged for his service, and it means a lot. That's just one layer, of course, that we can do for our veterans, but can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can, Suzanne.
Okay, but the other aspect is trying to help, as we try to help our veterans get their service-related connectivity for their, especially Vietnam veterans. They're the main group that we've got coming through now who are needing that. We're trying to get that, not specifically for the hospice benefit, but for their survivor benefits, and trying to be accurate about making sure that we include on their death certificate the reason, their primary diagnosis being service-related if they're in the process of trying to get their service-related connectivity. I don't know if that makes sense, but we're trying to do whatever we can on a very limited time frame to be able to get them their benefits, again, not just necessarily for burial or for death, but for their survivors to be able to get some sort of benefits from their service time. Can you speak toward that at all, or am I...
Definitely. Oh, you brought up a really important point, and I just want to expand on it a little bit, Suzanne, that I'll give an example. There's a list very readily available online, and it's called Presumptive Diagnoses, and I'll give a couple of examples. One, ALS, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, or Lou Gehrig's disease, or even lung cancer. So if the veteran's foot touched ground on Vietnam soil, and later in life the veteran developed lung cancer or ALS, or, well, you don't even need to touch base in Vietnam to get ALS, but let's use the lung cancer example. That veteran doesn't have to go through any of these what are called compensation and pension exams. It is automatically presumed to be service-connected. So prior to death, the veteran can file a claim, and there can be kind of a pension disability type claim. And then what I think you were talking about was, okay, so let's say, as it happens on our hospice unit not infrequently, the veteran comes in with terminal lung cancer, didn't even realize they were eligible for a benefit. They go on to die, and now the surviving spouse is saying, what can I do as a survivor? And there is a separate claim after death that can be filed. And you brought up a very important point that you want to try to educate whoever is doing the pronouncement that you want that death certificate to show that condition contributed to the death. So if it was lung cancer, you want lung cancer noted on the death certificate, and that assists in filing that claim after death for the survivor.
Correct, yes.
Yep.
So along those same lines, though, because I know I'm familiar with the blue waters versus brown waters in Vietnam, and for the Navy, because it's easier for Army if they were boots on the ground, and there's no question necessarily about their involvement in Vietnam, but with Navy and some of those, can you speak to those as well? Like, I know that there are some presumed illnesses that you don't have to prove at all regardless, but I know it's becoming more mainstream to be approved for those, but as far as Navy and that sort of thing, is it and I know Lewy bodies is also kind of in question at this point now too, Lewy bodies dementia, but is it still as difficult to get the Navy officers or Navy combat veterans their services if they were in Vietnam as well with those presumed illnesses, or is it just automatic?
Wow, you're a savvy consumer, if you will. The issue of blue water, brown water is something that, for those that may not know those terms, as I understand them, you could have been in the Navy, let's say, could have served in the Vietnam waters, but never actually kind of got off the ship or the boat to step foot on Vietnam soil, but you would still be considered as having served in Vietnam and then be eligible for these presumptive diagnoses. I'm not all that familiar with the process to determine what waters they were in, and I can imagine that might be challenging in terms of going through the record. So I'm sorry, I just can't speak to anything that has really streamlined that historical process to document where the veteran served. But for those presumptive diagnoses like ALS, you don't need to have stepped on any soil. And I think the teaching point for many of the people on this call today, I would think is I would keep a list of those presumptive diagnoses in a readily accessible file, and as you take in veterans into your programs, if their diagnosis pops up as one of these presumptive diagnoses, I would make sure you put them in contact with a VA representative along the way.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. I really appreciate all that.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, hi, it's Catherine. I just want to remind everyone, of course, please keep your questions coming for Scott, but also just wanted to make sure we have enough time for any partner networking. So if anyone has any best practices to share, any stories, or want to let folks know what you're planning for Veterans Day coming up, if you have any events planned, please let us know what's happening. So, all right, with that, we'll continue on.
Thanks, Catherine.
And again, if you would like to ask a question or make a comment, press star 1 on your telephone keypad. Your next question comes from the line of John Smith.
Yeah, I had a question about the duplication of service. I understand, that someone can't double dip, so to speak. I was wondering, though, what the status is of the possibility of people getting treatment for things that used to be considered somewhat curative, but are now possibly considered more palliative care, and also receiving hospice. I know there's been some bills introduced, and I was wondering what the status is of that being received for not just veterans, but the general public.
Wow. I don't know that I can speak knowledgeably about legislation related to the Medicare hospice benefit and the Medicare Caring Choices program for veterans and concurrent care. Typically, John, the issue has been more terminally the disease-directed treatment that's directed at the terminal illness. And I don't believe any of these immunologics that are coming out, which can be potentially life-prolonging, I don't think anyone's using phrases like curative. And I also, but I'm not hearing about the combination of many curative treatments in conjunction with hospice. I've just not heard a lot about that for veterans or elsewhere.
Hi, John. This is Lauren from the Hospice Action Network, and actually I can briefly talk about concurrent care in the general population. Scott, if you don't mind, I'll just jump in real quick.
Please do.
That's actually part of why we advocate you all talking to your members of Congress. There are several bills out there that are attempting to address concurrent care, but it is highly controversial. It will be added cost if that becomes a part of the Medicare hospice benefit. As you know, MCCM or the Medicare Care Choices model, for anyone who's not paying attention to that. I don't know if there's anyone on the phone who participates in MCCM, in which case please chime in. But that's something that, again, we would love to have Congress be more aware of, to hear from the programs in the field if it's working, if they're having problems with it. I know during the first round of NCCM there were problems with how strict the regulations were on who was eligible for that program. And NHPCO did work with CMS to loosen some of those restrictions and hopefully get more people in. But MCCM is just a demo right now. They're testing out the system and hoping that it comes back with some good data where we could take it to Congress and could make an argument. But it's really, this is the very baby steps of just testing out what it would look like in the general population. But again, that is something that the NHPCO policy and regulatory team keeps pretty close track of. And yeah, we would love to see you all talk more about it. And if you participate in MCCM, please let us know how it's going.
Okay, thank you.
And your next question comes from the line of Mary Harakopos of Vetus Fairview Heights.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for this. I'm new to hospice care, and I've really learned a lot on this call today. I have a few questions. First off, I noted last time we had this call, there was a recording of it, but I wondered if notes from the call are ever made that list, kind of questions asked and information from the call, just so we can quickly read through it.
Hi, Mary. It's Catherine with We Honor Veterans. And yes, following each call, we not only post a full recording of the call in case anyone wants to go back and listen through, we also have notes from just, some of the highlights of the call and some of the bullet points that our speakers went over. Also, on our page for our partner networking calls, we also have what we call frequently asked questions for Scott Shreve. So these are things that when partners email us or during these calls tend to come up a lot. And so we have the answers to those on our website as well. And again, this is under educational resources, and then you click on partner networking calls so you can find everything there. And we try to get the recording of the call and the notes up within a week or so afterwards. So that should be up next week.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you. I wanted to note that I tried looking for Susan Miller's article that Dr. Shreve referenced, and I used the newsletter, but it took me to a link that then I had to pay for the article. I was not able to just view it, so maybe it would be nice if we could just...
Staff will be available to assist you. My Healthy Vet is another way.
Am I still on the air?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, good. I got interrupted there. So I was just saying
Sorry.
I could not access the full article from Susan Miller when I went through the newsletter. So I wondered if that could be without paying for it. So I just wondered if there was a way to access it.
No, of course. Yeah, we definitely want to get that out to all of our partners for free, of course. So that we will include that in the partner networking call notes as well.
Great. And my last question probably for Dr. Shreve, what I wrote down when I was taking notes here, he was saying that the VA hospice care is not identical to the Medicare hospice care, and that's a question I've been asked here in my office. So I wondered, either now on the phone call or if he wanted to write a response, since we're running low on time, if he might be able to elaborate more specifically to help new people like me especially know how VA hospice care is different from Medicare hospice care. And that's it. Thank you all.
Mary, boy, some great questions. And the only comment I'll make about the health affairs, it's a copyrighted journal, and all of journal articles have some of those issues where they seek to get a revenue source for people accessing it. My understanding is when you go to the link, the abstract is free, and many libraries have copies of health affairs, and so you could view it that way. And then there's also news reports, which aren't the direct article, but often provide a lot of the substance there. So I'll just share that. I think it may be difficult for NHPCO to share complete copies of the publication, given the copyright issue. As far as VA purchased hospice care being different than Medicare, boy, we Catherine, might want to put this on a future call agenda, and I'll just share that Just maybe a few of the highlights. When VA is paying for the care, sometimes the VA doctor, physician wants to be the attending of record, and we certainly support that in the Department of Veterans Affairs. However, I know some issues have come up that many VA physicians have weekends off, and the hospice needs a contact person, and they get told to, call the emergency department or call the hospitalist on call, and that may not always be the best contact person for those off-tour hours. So that's just one example where I think anytime the VA and a community hospice are working together, I really believe open communication about the expectations. Who should we call during off-tour hours? What is the process when we believe a veteran who's at home now needs to be moved to a general inpatient care level? VA does not automatically pay for that. They typically request some proactive approval, or if it happened over a weekend, let us know first thing Monday morning. Mary, they were some of the nuances, but I'm visualizing in my mind, Catherine, that we may want to develop what I'll call a bit of a fact sheet to outline some of these nuances as to when VA is paying and when the veteran is getting care under the Medicare hospice benefit, so we can be upfront in educating veterans when they make a choice about payer.
Oh, definitely. I think that would be super helpful to have a compare and contrast sheet for our partners to look at both sides of it. So definitely start working on that. And sorry,
I'll take that task on and get you a draft of that, Catherine, for us to work on.
Oh, thank you, Scott. And sorry, just to clarify, no, we did not put the entire Susan Miller article. Sorry about that, but we did have an article on sort of Scott's takeaway and the editorial that you had written titled "Improving End-of-Life Care Begins with Honoring Patient Preferences." So that is included in our newsletter.
Thank you both. Thank you all so much. And maybe we could also not to make too complicated, but compare and contrast the TRICARE aspect, because I was also asked to research how TRICARE hospice benefit is different from Medicare hospice benefit.
Wow, I've got to find the expert on that.
I couldn't find that answer. I called the National Veterans Foundation just to ask. I thought maybe they'd know, but anyway, they told me to call TRICARE, and it was just kind of hard to get to the bottom of it.
I wish I knew the answer to that one. Maybe we can try to find a resource person somewhere and share that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, definitely. Feel free again, if you can, email us that question to the Veterans Inbox, and we'll try to find an answer for you.
Thank you.
Sure.
And your next question comes from the line of Cosette Tripp of Kindred Hospice.
Thank you. This is Cosette Tripp from Kindred Hospice in Palm Desert, California. And I'm wondering, is there a website that we could go to that will have a list of the presumptive diagnoses that we can print up so we can have that accessible for our patients?
Yeah, you definitely can. I was going to try to Google it while we were talking, and I think it will come up within like one click. So, if you just VHA presumptive diagnoses will take you right there.
Thank you very much.
And we'll be sure to include that link in our call notes as well to make sure y'all have it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And again, if you would like to ask a question or make a comment, press star 1 on your telephone keypad. There are no further questions at this time.
Thanks very much, everybody. Thanks, Catherine.
Yeah, thank you so much, Scott, for joining us, and thank you, everyone, for your questions and your feedback, and we're so glad you could join us, and we hope that you're able to make our next call in December. All right, looking forward to hearing from you all, and as always, please feel free to reach out if you have questions, any follow-up ideas or any feedback for us. We love hearing from you. So, all right, enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you.
Thank you. You may now disconnect.